Meet Kevin was blocked by Elon and crucified by Dylan Loomis. You beat me to it, Dylan. Kevin's whiny put-downs of Elon were basically seventh grade stuff. Moreover, let me say to all the folks who are complaining about the quarter and the call, this tough quarter was planned and explained. The call included at least 20 positive statements, which I've put up on Patreon. Many of those I've covered yesterday in great detail, and there'll be a couple of more in today's report. But if history is any guide, it's just going to take a few days for the market to shake off the call. Then the stock will start back up to a realistic number based on actual future profit expectations. That's how the market does. It wants to look to the future, look at future profits. And guess what? I put up that video yesterday. If you haven't seen it, I will put up a card later. Brian Wong will be on. Oh, there's Randy Kirk, by the way, in case the three of you who don't know. And please hit like and subscribe, because those help the algorithm, and probably you want to be subscribed anyway. And then, because then you can hit notify, because we got this coming up. We got Brian Wong on later today. Very important video. This will be on around 11 today, and he'll be talking about the details of the battery and energy storage statements from the call. They were big, huge, important. That's where I just can't meet Kevin and all the rest of the whiners. No, these were big statements. These are extremely important news. Then tomorrow afternoon, Larry and I will look back at the entire week, and I'm sure that's going to be an interesting conversation with Larry. That'll be probably around 3:30 or 4 o'clock, something like that. And I will tackle the new Tesla myths on Saturday. Don't miss that show. That'll be Saturday morning. There's a bunch of new myths now, a bunch of new headlines that are being repeated over and over again that came out of the earnings call. I'm going to shatter those myths. Okay. On a fun note, Elon, it turns out, or somebody at Tesla is watching my channel, because you guys know I've been asking for a Model 3 Plaid, and now there are rumors all over the place that there's going to be one. And now I feel kind of like the dog that chased the fire engine, and he didn't know what to do when he caught it. Because I need a car like I need another car. I need a car payment like I need a hole in the head. Anyway, maybe I'll rent one from Turo once they're out. The 10-year bonds have been trying to break through 5%. They actually did technically for a second, I think, in the after hours. But they got stopped cold a couple of times, and they're going down this morning. The reason yields were up yesterday was supposed hawkishness on the part of Chairman Powell in his speech. Sorry, I didn't see it. I still don't see it. I continue to say bonds will be rallying and rates, yields will be going down, and that's what's happening this morning. I don't think this is going to be a one-day event. I think you'll see yields continuing to slide down. There could be some problems with regard to the wars that are taking place right now that could affect bonds yields as well, in particular the expenses associated with those wars. I don't think so. I think it's really, they're going to continue down because inflation is headed down. One more note on bond yields. All of the headlines about the highest ever since, the highest yield since 20 years, the highest yield since the Great Recession was one headline this morning. These are not historic highs by any stretch, but there is a psychological barrier at 5%, just like lots of round number psychological barriers. So please read those headlines with that regular grain of salt. Those are clickbait. All right. With that in mind, Truflation is at 2.24, and we are now 1 week away from the PCE print, which hopefully will reflect what's really going on in inflation. We're at 2.24. I believe it. I think most of you probably are starting to believe it. If you're not, put that down in the comments below. Let me know that you think that inflation is higher than 2.24 and why. Don't just say, yes, I think so, Randy. Tell me why. What is it? What is the item that is going up so fast, or the category that's going up so fast, or that looks like it's going to go up so fast? What's happening that makes you think that there's still any inflation at all? That's what I'd like to hear from Jerome Powell as well. Since many of you are on this channel are retired, I thought you might like this headline that I saw this morning. The old 4% theory might be changing to 4.7. In other words, if it's true, you can now take 4.7% of your pension fund, your total dollars invested out each year, and you'll do just fine. I'm going to pass that headline along without any other opinion than caution, okay? The Wall Street Journal's James McIntosh notes that this is the current bull market is weird. He points primarily to the fact that almost all of the gains are coming out of the Magnificent Eight, and there's been no rotation into the broader market. What's happening with the small caps? What's happening with the Dow? What's happening? I agree that this is a weird situation to have almost all the gains coming out of those 8 stocks. I'm not yet quite sure what to make of it, though. What do you think? I'd love to hear those comments. What do you think? Why hasn't there been a rotation yet? When does the rotation start? What effect will the rotation have if we get one? All the earnings looking really good right now, so shouldn't some of these other stocks be catching up? Well, excuse me so much. Tesla moved a few prices around yesterday. They moved Model X Plaid up by $5,000, and they moved a few Model Y prices down in Canada. I don't think that's going to affect the stock this morning. Either one of those things. Toyota, Lexus have signed a contract to use the NACS system. Where's VW? There's hardly anybody left. What's happening with those last few? So Toyota, Lexus, that's a pretty big one to join in, even though they hardly make any cars that will apply, but they have decided to join NACS. I think that means everybody will eventually be in. I've been thinking that for a while. Anyway, Sawyer Merritt says, ChargePoint announced today that it is beginning to roll out support for the NACS connectors in its charging stations. So there you go. That's more confirmation. That is going to be the standard. Eventually, probably the other approach completely goes away over the next couple of years. The Conference Board Leading Economic Index, the LEI, for the U.S. declined by 0.7% in September 2023 to 104.6, with 2016 being at 100. That is following a decline of 0.5% in August. The LEI is down 3.4% over the 6-month period between March and September 2023, an improvement from the 4.6% contraction over the previous 6 months, September 22 to March 2023. The quote from those folks was that the LEI for the U.S. fell again in September, marking a 1.5 years of consecutive monthly declines since April of 2022. In September, negative or fat contributions from 9 of the index's 10 components more than offset fewer initial claims for unemployment insurance. Although the 6-month growth rate in the LEI is somewhat less negative and the recession signal did not sound, it still signals risk of economic weakness ahead. So far, the U.S. economy has shown considerable resilience despite pressures from rising interest rates and high inflation. Nonetheless, the Conference Board forecasts that this trend will not be sustained for much longer, and a shallow recession is likely in the first half of 2024. I have completely lost confidence in this report, and I think maybe the markets have also, because nobody's talking about it anymore. And it's been predicting the same recession, like so many others have, for over a year. So I'm not sure what's going on with that report. Again, now maybe it's because of some of these weird things that have not occurred before. The aging population, the amount of wealth in the hands of seniors, a couple of wars going on out there that the U.S. is contributing to, the fact that the Treasury is issuing so much additional debt in order to support all the spending of the Biden administration, and the Magnificent Eight owning the entire market with no kind of movement into the small caps or even the mid caps. Anyway, also forgotten in all of this analysis is the reason for high prices and margins a year ago was a car shortage in the car business. Remember, there was a car shortage. There was not enough semiconductor chips. Folks were they had all kinds of extra spending money in their pockets, and there was super low interest rates. But what a difference a year makes. the price drops from Tesla and others were not just about needing more folks to be able to afford them because of the higher interest rates. There's also the reality that a lot of people bought cars last year, and then they're not as needy this year, and interest rates are high. So the costs have been coming down more or less to where they were before all of this happened. And also the costs of goods for those cars have come down as well. So there's a lot going on here that a lot of the shallow analysts are just not paying attention to. Operating margins were off for the best reason you could want at Tesla. Operating margins were down. That's what everybody said. Oh, it's just a car company now. It's just got the same operating margins as everybody else. You know why the operating margins were down so much? Because of a huge increase in R&D and CapEx. Well, that's what you want. This company has the best return on investment capital of any car company and almost any company, period. And this is building the company for the future. This is creating more future assets and more future capabilities for this company that is really, really good at creating products that everybody wants. Anyway, but not one so-called expert, not one, has taught. I think Gary Black has mentioned it. So he's an ex-expert, and he does go on CNBC from time to time. But anyway, I think he mentioned this. All the rest of the experts, hear no evil, see no evil. They're not talking about this massive increase, which is why the overall operating profit was down. The main reason. It is likely, in my opinion, that the market is done what it's going to do in repricing Tesla stock based on the miss and the Elon attitude during the earnings call. So in general, the stock has nowhere to go but up at this point. It will follow the NASDAQ around for the next few days or so, maybe even all of next week until the PCE report. Unless there is news, of course, in the meantime, and there are plenty of chances of news related to Cybertruck, including just the simple fact of how many are being built and showing up in the parking lot. And then that'll be continuous news all the way through the end of the year. How many Cybertrucks are being seen pumping out of the factory? This is going to be big. And then there'll be the actual handover. That could be a catalyst. There will be the pricing and the final specs and the final new information that we don't even know that's going to, all of the things that are in the Cybertruck that some people are saying we don't know all about it yet. So there's a lot of stuff coming up on Cybertruck alone that can be stimulating to the Tesla stock price. Well, it is that time. We need to look and see where things are as of now. And what we have is we have the down 20.23. We have the NASDAQ down 0.37. We have the S&P down 32. And we have Tesla down 2%. These are all 0.2 percentages. And we have the Magnificent Seven all down except NVIDIA, which is barely up. So Tesla is down slightly more than it should be, with this particular, with the NASDAQ down only 0.37%. Let's look at these in dollars. So we've got the Dow down 60 points. We've got the NASDAQ down 40 points, S&P down 9, and Tesla down $3.95. But it is up from where it was earlier this morning. And it is trending up right now. Of course, we will take another look in a minute. We've got the Cathie Woods completely mixed and basically right around break even. So right now, the market seems once again to be looking for direction. This is a options Friday, so that's also going to affect markets today. And Tesla, of course, is the #1 most traded option of all. Let's now go inside and I call it inside. Let's go take a look at all the rest of the information here. What we have is Bitcoin up very, very strongly. I know there's a whole bunch of stuff going on about some bill that needs to be passed. I'm sorry, I don't follow it. I'm just reporting this for your benefit. All right. We've got the dollar hanging in at highs. We've got gold up strongly. Now, this is where I'm saying we may be seeing a little bit of the war starting to infect markets. Gold is, of course, the #1 place where people retreat when they see these kind of things around the world. It can be an inflation hedge, but it can also be a place to go for safety. So gold is now almost back to 2,000 again. Such amazing amounts of volatility in gold recently. We've got oil up 71 cents this morning, sitting just barely over $90. That's showing me that, again, there might be a little bit of move into oil right now because of all this confusion out there in the world, especially in the Middle East, but it's not a very strong move. I'm thinking that oil is not going to go much higher unless there is major news in the Middle East that would cause it to do so. That is certainly possible in this environment. And then we've got bonds down almost 1 basis point on the 10-year to 4.918. So we're moving away from that 5%. Let's look inside to see what the other guys are doing here. We got the 2-month up a little bit. We got the not even a basis point. We've got the 2-year down 7 basis points. And the 10-year is now down 7 basis points. Interesting. Okay, so they're about the same. Again, the 10-year at 4.9. All right, let's see. Another quick look at Tesla, which is still continuing up at this very moment. But down 3.48. Don't get me wrong, $3.48, but trending up at this point. Okay, so we had one of the most watched videos on this channel ever yesterday, going into what the analysts missed, because the analysts missed a lot. And boy, you guys really thank you very much. You really liked that video. The card is right here. Coming up today, again, is Brian Wong talking about those batteries. This is going to be another don't miss video. The batteries and the charging business. I mean, the supercharger, I'm sorry, the mega, the gigas and the megas and the quantas and the kilos. And boy, I tell you what, anyway, the whole business, about 24% margins on the energy business. That was huge. We'll be talking way more about that in that video coming up around noon. 11 o'clock, 11:30, something like that today, Pacific Daylight Time. And then later today, Larry Goldberg and I will be talking about all of the things that happened this week. You don't want to miss that. And then, you know what? I came up with something you might like. If you've been sitting there wondering, okay, Randy, you're giving deals. You're being like Elon now. The price is different every single day. But I do a lot of shipping, and I've done a lot of shipping in my life. I know a lot about shipping. And I'm still selling a lot of stuff on Amazon, as you know. I kept trying to figure out what's the best way to ship this. You know, I think it's going to be in threes. That is going to be where the bargain is. So I've still got the deal where if you buy one, it's $25. And if you buy two, it's $45. But now I've got a new deal on 3 for $65. All right. And 4 for $90. Because 4 is not as easy to ship. So 3 for $65. So look at that deal. Please tell me whether you want the Cybertruck in the stainless or if you want it in the camo. If you're overseas, I still need that extra $20. You can use those 3 numbers I just gave you and add $20 to that for the overseas shipment. I think that'll cover me. I hope. Oh my, that means, yeah, on 3, that would be 85. Yeah, that works. Yeah, out of 4, 90 plus 20, 110. Yeah, that works. Okay. So I know I'm doing this on the fly. Sometimes I feel like that's what they do at Tesla too, because they get the data in and then they make those decisions on the fly. All right. So, and of course, you know, you still get one of these free when you join on Patreon. A whole bunch of people joined, a bunch of people joined last week. And so they got their 7 days of free. And now it's time for you to make your decision if you want this or if you want a couple of books on your $10 levels. Okay, there was one more thing I wanted to say about all of that. Oh, yes, of course. I'm putting up news every single day on Patreon now, 2 to 5 times a day. You're getting breaking news as I see it. And Tesla is continuing up strongly. It's only down 1% now with the market. The NASDAQ down 0.39, much more in line. So this is exactly what I would expect to see over the next couple of days. I am done. That's it. It has been great talking to you. See you later. I missed that thing again.